Right. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Life Science Connections Let's Talk Careers event. This is an event that we do as often as possible, where we try to shed a light on the different careers that we have within the life science industry. And today we are focusing on academia and PhDs. So we just thought we'll give a brief introduction about who we are as Life Science Connections. So we are a platform that aims to help life science students and graduates. And how we do this is we have events just like this, where we have professionals come to share their career journey and also provide an insight into their job role. We also share internships and entry-level roles on our social media pages. And we have different blog series that we do as well to provide insights, where we have a day in a life, where we have professionals share a typical day in their role. We have interview diaries where we allow people to provide, to share their experience of different interviews within different roles. We also have Job of the Month, where we share or we spotlight particular job roles within the life science industry. And we also have Q&A sessions as well with professionals. So for today's event, we have 4 speakers. The first speaker will be Almudena. She's a lecturer at the Institute of Clinical Trials and Methodology at UCL. We also have Jemima. She is a Deputy Head of Science at Welling School. We also have Rhea. She is a trainee science teacher at Hillingdon, SCITT. And we have Shaq, who is a PhD researcher at Imperial College. So we're going to get started. Just some housekeeping rules. Please ensure that you keep yourself on mute. And if you have any questions for the speakers, please feel free to write your questions in the chat, and we will direct these questions to the speakers at the end of during the QA session, which is at the end of the speaker sessions. So I think we'll get started with our first speaker, Almudena.
Hello, hi everyone. So I'm gonna start sharing my presentation. Sorry, I pressed the wrong button. Can you see my screen right? Okay, great. Okay, so hi everyone, and thank you and Adharonke for inviting me to this careers event today. It's really a pleasure to share my professional experience with the attendees. So my name is Almudena. I am a lecturer on the teaching position at the Institute of Clinical Trials and Methodology at UCL. So I'm going to start this presentation with a brief talk with a summary of my career in academia. So I was born in Spain, and I earned a pharmacy degree at Universidad Complutense in Madrid in 2008. And during these 5 years of pharmacy studies, I really developed an interest for molecular biology, biochemistry, and biotechnology. So that's why I decided to study further, and I decided to enroll in an MSc in microbiology, because I was really passionate with the subject. So this MSc in microbiology had an important research component. So I did a research project in the lab, and then I had also to write an MSc dissertation at the end of this MSc. So I really realized in this year that I really enjoyed doing experiments in the lab, setting up my own research project. I also really liked the topic, and I also liked and get on well with my supervisors. So that's why I decided to study a PhD next and do a PhD next. So I was awarded a 4-year fellowship from the Spanish government, and I was also awarded 2 different fellowships to do short-term research stays at the University of Manchester and Duke University in the US. And really, as at the start of your PhD, you think everything will be easy and everything will be smooth. But it's a really long journey that has its ups and downs. And it's the process of constant learning and resilience to experiment failure, and a process of constant problem solving, which has, as you can see here, some really great peaks and rewarding peaks when finally you get things working in the lab and you discover something new and something meaningful. So those are the peaks which are very exciting. So my research for my PhD was in MAP kinase pathways in yeast. So it was very fundamental and very basic research. So after completing my PhD in 2014, I decided that I wanted to pursue an academic career. So I've always wanted to be a teacher, higher education. So I decided to continue my professional development abroad, outside of my home country, for a better enrichment, for better professional opportunities. So this is basically when I joined University College London in 2015 as a postdoctoral research fellow. And this is really the normal pathway that people do after finishing PhDs if you want to stay in academia. So at the Institute of Ophthalmology, I specialized in translational research, trying to find really innovative therapies such as gene therapy to cure inherited blindness. So this topic was new for me, so it's fine to change research topic. And I discovered that I loved this topic, and I was able to learn new things and to develop new methodological skills in the lab as well. So while I was a postdoctoral researcher at the Institute of Ophthalmology, I got involved in different teaching duties, and I could supervise PhD students and master's students. So I kind of started to build a portfolio in teaching until I got the opportunity to move to a really, more teaching-focused position as teaching fellow at the Institute of Clinical Trials Methodology. A different department that is still at UCL. So that was 3 years ago, and in 2019, and 2 years later, I was promoted to lecturer, and that's my current role. So how is the life of a PhD student and a postdoctoral researcher? Both routines really are very similar, but obviously, when you are postdoctoral, you become more independent because you have all those years of experience that you have gained on your PhD. But in general, on your daily basis, you plan, you develop, and you analyze your own research study. And this is actually a picture of myself working in the lab, in the hoods in the lab with the different cell lines. So apart from doing the experiments in the lab, you're also encouraged to publish your findings in scientific journals. And if you're a postdoctoral researcher, you're also encouraged to write your own grants and to secure funding for your research projects. And if you're a PhD student or a postdoctoral researcher, you will be able to present your research findings in different conferences. And if you are lucky enough, perhaps if you kind of establish a collaboration, you will be able to travel to other centers of excellence, other universities, in order to carry out part of your own research work. So what happens when you move and you become a lecturer? So as I told you before, a lecturer, this is a much more focused, teaching-focused position. So these are just some of my daily duties as lecturer. So I'm involved in curriculum design, and I'm also involved in developing innovative ways of delivering content. So for example, we have shifted our program to be an online program, and therefore I kind of create different online activities using digital tools. I think I didn't mention before, but I am currently managing and teaching on the MSc in clinical trials. That's the MSc, but I also teach in other PhD and master's programs. So as part of my teaching duties, as I was saying, I set up assessments and I do marking of assignments, providing very detailed feedback to the students. And I also work very closely with the student representatives. And this is the most rewarding part because I work together with the students in order to make changes and to make improvements in the program. And these are just on this slide some of the new things that we have implemented in our program based on conversations that we've been having with the students. I am personal tutor. I am member of the different exam boards and different committees, including the student staff consultative committee meeting. I also support MSc projects, and also I support my colleagues, staff at the Institute on the different teaching roles. And I kind of oversee how they teach, and I kind of suggest different things for their pedagogical development. And apart from all these teaching duties, I am also involved in research. So I continue to write grants and to write papers and to analyze a set of data. And I also do a little bit of marketing. So for example, now we're doing a monthly webinar for prospective students on the MSc in clinical trials. And those experiences, I mean, I really like the job that I do, and I'm happy to answer any further questions you might have about the role as a lecturer. But I just wanted to describe briefly how postgraduate research works at UCL. So I'm sure it will be very similar to other higher education institutions. So basically, you can find many opportunities for studying a PhD across all UCL departments, so different topics. And a PhD here is 3 years full-time, but you can also do it part-time, which is more or less 5 to 7 years. And students initially enroll for an MPhil and then transfer to PhD following an upgrade, which is basically an examination that takes place a year after you have initiated your studies. And then at the end of your PhD, you will be presenting and having an oral examination. You will be presenting a written report, such as thesis or dissertation. If you become a PhD student at UCL, you will be also supported by the doctoral school, and you will be able to enroll in different training courses like writing, presentation skills courses, literature search, etc. You will be able to get involved with teaching duties, which is very interesting if you want to develop a career later on as lecturer. And obviously you will be supported by your supervisors and by the other PhD student fellows and other postdoctoral researchers that will be working in the same research group. So I'm going to give you a few tips if you're thinking of studying a PhD. It's really important to pick a topic and a subject that you really like. And I would say also a method that you really enjoy doing every day. So for example, if you don't like computer work, then it would be better not to choose a project that, for example, involves coding and things like that. But if you really like the lab and the bench, then go for it. But if, for example, you don't feel comfortable with mice, do not choose a project that involves animal work, because this is going to be on your daily basis. So it's better if you're passionate about the topic and you really like the method that you will be doing every day. I could say it's really important to talk to potential supervisors in advance. because it's important to have a feeling about how they work and about how they are in terms of personality, and make sure you will be feeling comfortable working with these people. You can also read about the reputation of the group, or even talk to people that currently work on that group, and I could say that could be really, really important. And you can do a PhD either after your first degree or after your master's. But studying a master's, I could say, is a really good introduction and a great opportunity to decide if you really like science, if you really like research, and if you really like to spend another 3 more years doing a research project. So I've left some links here that I can post to the chat later on as well. If you're looking for funding opportunities at UCL or at other institutions, and you can also check with research charities websites as well, because some research charities fund PhDs. So why studying a PhD? Well, the main reason could have to be because you have a genuine interest and genuine motivation in the topic, and that you're really excited about achieving something significant and discovering something new. But obviously, it is a fundamental and a key step if you want to develop a career in academia as a lecturer or as a researcher. But apart from this, having a PhD can be a real advantage for a career progression, even outside academia, because you will gain some important transferable skills like critical thinking, a better way of solving problems and troubleshooting, attention to detail, and you will have developed good level of written and presentation skills and oral skills as well. So I've taken this graph just to show you what happens 3.5 years after graduation at UK. So only 30% of the students doing a PhD continued in academic or a research position in higher education, such as researchers or teachers in higher education. Only 30% of all the students. So the remaining 70% of the students who completed a PhD left it to academia, for example, to different research roles outside academia or to non-research related role. So studying a PhD is not only valid to develop a career in academia, but it could also be useful if you decide to quit academia after that. So I've taken this from a slide from UCL Careers, a department which is focused on careers at our university. And this slide illustrates where you could end up after finishing your PhD. If you think an academic career is not the place for you, because you might change your mind after you complete your PhD. So you could work in very different, different sectors. You could still work in academia, but in a non-academic role, such as lab manager, clinical trials manager, etc. But you could also work for the NHS, or you could even go to biotechs and pharma companies, etc. So this is, or do a bit of consultancy if this is something that you would like to do. So I'm finishing here with my talk with these, pros and cons of an academic career. It's really great, the level of flexibility with your own schedule, and the level of freedom and the level of independence of working on your own research projects on something that you're really highly motivated and passionate about. Because when working in research is always creative, it's always innovative, so it's not really a boring job. In general terms, we have more days of annual leave than people who work for the private sector. And of course, as a lecturer, for me, it's really rewarding to see that the students are maturing, are growing scientifically, And it's also rewarding to see and to get the new scientific findings published, which could help, in my case of research, could help patients in the future. And then on the con side, an academic position involves a high amount of responsibility. You're really leading a research project and teaching the next generation of graduates, so it's a high level of responsibility. In general, you have lower salaries in academia with respect to the private sector. Contracts, research contracts are often temporary. And for example, postdoctoral contracts tend to last for 2 years or 3 years maximum. There's also high competition for permanent jobs in the academic track if you want to be a lecturer. And we have also pressure to secure our own funding for, to carry on with our own research projects. That means a lot of our work goes towards getting applications and getting grant applications successful. That's it really for now. Feel free to email me any questions you might have, and yeah, happy to take on any questions after that, after all the speakers have finished.
Thank you, Almudena. That was really insightful. Thank you. So we'll move on to our next speaker. And our next speaker is Jemima, and she is a science teacher. She's currently the Deputy Head of Science at Hillingdon School, Welling School. Apologies.
Exactly.
Apologies.
No worries at all. Okay, so let me just start off by introducing my my journey really. So originally I'm from Germany. I did my O-levels and A-levels in Germany. I came here on a holiday and decided to stay. I did my university degree here. One of the things that was really important, initial state, I realized that I have a thing for science. I really enjoy science. I really enjoy the concept, that analysis, the data, and the research background. All of this was exciting to me. So it was no surprise to when I came to university, when I came to London, that I wanted to have a degree in human biology. But then I combined it with psychology because I thought, why not? Why not combine something with the mindset of understanding the cognitive behind it, why certain behavior or certain things happen. So that's what I did. I was there for 4 years, and then I did not do anything with my degree at all because I was trying to find myself. I was just like, let me just go here and there and see what I can do. So initially I went into advertising. You must see one of my advertising, confused.com. It's one of the things that I was really working on. I was looking at a bit of coding in terms of Sims. So as I was doing that, even though one of the things, the money was really good, but it didn't fulfill me as much because I was thinking, what am I giving to the community? What am I doing? So then I just realized that I do like science. I'm actually really good at it. It comes easy to me. So why don't I go back? But initially, I didn't just start going into it. I just wanted to test the water first and see whether indeed it is something that will be easy for me. So I started on by becoming a teaching assistant first. So one of the things is always look into whether indeed it is something for you, because one thing I've learned in life is, or one thing that I tend to do is if I start something, I really want to finish it off. So I don't want to start off and break in between. I just want to make sure that I finish it off indeed. So I tasted the water first. So I did teaching assistant role to see whether indeed I feel comfortable in the classroom. I put myself out there. One of the things that you should do also is put yourself out there, ask the teachers, can I actually take on 2-3 students? Can I actually do this on my own? Just one of the things that I did. So I realized that, oh, actually, I really like it. I'm actually enjoying this a little bit more than I thought I would. So then I still didn't do anything with it because life sometimes comes in the way whereby you're doing little things here and there. So I went on to become a science technician and then a senior science technician. Again, I run education, but not really in the classroom, just around the classroom to see again if I really do like it. And this is when I thought, yeah, I've waited too much time. I really want to go into teaching. So I did not do I didn't go through the conventional route. I actually went through something known as assessment route only, whereby you create your folder over time. Because I had already experience within the classroom and I had teachers already vouching for me, I did my training while I was being paid at the same time, if you like. So instead of me straight away going to university, I did assessment route only, whereby you get your portfolio and you then decide to look for a provider, a university provider, who will come to you and assess you based on the teaching standard. So this is what I did. They came to me, they did the assessment. I did very outstanding that I got, and that was it. I didn't have to go through the induction period of over a year. I actually didn't have to, because I have the experience. It only took me a month to go through the induction period. I know right now the rules are a bit different because of the ECT that's coming on, but this is my journey that I went through. Why did I chose teaching? Because I wanted to make it, it's very cliche, but I want to make a difference. Particularly, not only am I a teacher, but also I'm a mother. So I have children that are going to school. So when they're coming home and they were talking about their teachers that they do like and what actually the teachers are, what they are gaining from it, I really want to be able to give that to students as well, making sure that if they are going home, not only are they talking good about me, but actually they learn something in my classroom. So it's really important to me. So that's one of the reasons why I went into teaching, because I really wanted to give back to the community. I wanted to make sure that I am making a difference. And it is very cliche for me to say that, but I do want it also for students of my background to be able to see a person of color, to teach them in front of them, because presentation and representation really does matter. So it was really important for me to be able to do that as well, why I'm trying to accomplish other little things as well. Now, when I mention assessment route only, when you're going to teaching, please look out for, in terms of the routes that you want to go into. There are SCITT programs, there are Teach First, there are also assessment route only there as well. Look out for the university that's able to actually give you everything that you need. Go there, go on their website, also called that particular department as well, in order for them to actually give you an insight as to what you can actually gain out of it. So sometimes at the, on the website, they don't give you everything. So sometimes do give phone call as well. Now, in life as a science teacher, it's not really quite easy at all. Sometimes you think like, oh my God, yes, I'm a science teacher, I got a title, it's really great. No, it's not. Students are very difficult. Students are very, very difficult, but they are very lovely at the same time. When you have a student and you think like they're very hard to crack, but then you crack them in terms of actually letting them understand the concept, you feel so fulfilled. But it's really not easy being a science teacher in any shape or form at all. It's in general, it's not easy being a teacher, period, let alone being a science teacher. One thing you have to look out for is you really have to do lots of assessment. You really have to do lots of marking. If I don't mention it, it's not, I'm not selling this properly, but you do have to do lots of marking. You do have to do lots of planning. Now, one of the things that will come easy will be as you're going by each year, your planning will become easier. My first lesson took me 5 hours. It took me 5 hours. Now it takes me 30 minutes to plan 2 lessons, because I know what I'm looking out for. I know exactly how to tailor my lesson to suit my students. I've been teaching for more than 5 years, so it comes easier over time. So one thing I will say is, do not give up. If you really want to go into teaching or academia, just look out for exactly, look, what's your thing? What are you good at? Just because you're good at it doesn't mean it become easier, but it make it easier for you to accept all the things that comes with it, okay? As a science teacher, our hours are not as regular as it could be. We don't do 9 to 5. It doesn't work at all. If you come home, you are sometimes taking some work with you, but that's okay because we have the holidays that we can rest a bit further. But even with the holidays, you do have to work a bit, but that's okay as well because you know the reason why you become a teacher. Think about it. It's not, the money is not enough for what we do. However, it's really rewarding if you see the kids actually getting on with it, and particularly GCSE year 11s will come to you and say, thank you so much, or give you just a card here and there. It really does make a difference. So if you want to go into teaching, just really think about what are you good at? What is your strength? Because in science, we have 3 domains. We have biology, chemistry, and physics. Think about which one you want to go out for. Right now, chemistry and physics are gold dust. We need them. So if you want to be a chemistry teacher, please go for it. If you want to be a physics teacher, please, by all means, go for it. This is where the money is. That's all I can say right now. Thank you so much. If you do have some questions, I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you, Jemima. That was very, very insightful. And I just love the honesty as well. Honestly, thank you for that. We're going to move on to our third speaker, and we have Rhea, and she's a trainee science teacher in chemistry. So over to you.
Just trying to share my slides and I can't. Oh, I can now, I think. There we go.
Awesome.
Okay, so as introduced, my name is Rhea and I'm at the moment a trainee science teacher, and I am a chemistry specialist, and as Jemima said, we are gold dust. There's not many of us. So as a science teacher, you are trained to teach all 3 sciences up to GCSE, and then you have a specialism which is usually based on your degree, which you will only teach at A-level. So for me, because my degree is in biochemistry, I just chose chemistry. 1, because I enjoy chemistry, and 2, I do get paid a bit more, and that's always a pro. So why I wanted to be a teacher? 2 main reasons. So the image on the left is of me and my brother. My brother is actually autistic. He has global delay, dyspraxia, a lot of kind of educational issues, not much life skills. So my house growing up was very much inclusion all the time, just enjoy and education. As a result of my brother, my mum completely changed jobs as well and went into education. She's more on the kind of special educational needs side. And for me, obviously, just growing up, I saw that and just made me a bit interested in how students like that learn. So there was a bit of interest there. And the image on the right, a bit of a comic strip. So tonight we'll be talking to a scientist about the solar system, and to balance, we've invited a member of the Flat Earth Society. I find in the media, science is completely wrong, very misleading, and hence I thought science education is quite important. I think especially recently with COVID, there was just so much wrong information out there, especially with vaccines and loads of different things. Even students to this day asking me questions, and I'm just slightly shocked, even parents on parents' evening. It's a bit scary, so I just thought, okay, this education thing may be for me. And also, while I was studying, I found that science is not very accessible in terms of you constantly have to pay for papers online. So even for my postgrad education, I always had to pay for papers or find random online resources that were free. So just making science more accessible and more easy for people to understand was something that was really attractive to me. Hence, kind of teaching education came up in my life. So 2 main reasons. Just a bit of my journey. So like everyone, I did my GCSEs in this country. I then went on to do my A-levels, where I did biology, chemistry, maths, and French. I then went to Queen Mary and did an undergrad in biochemistry. I graduated in 2020, so peak COVID times. I did my dissertation at home. And then I kind of hit a wall and was like, I have no idea what I want to do. especially during COVID, there was no apprenticeships or internships, everything was shut down. So I was kind of just left to my own devices, which was really difficult. And previously said, because my mum's in education, she just kind of said, Rhea, you'd probably be good in education. Why don't you try being a teaching assistant? So I was a teaching assistant, but in a primary school. And after being vomited on and peed on a lot, I said, nope, I'm not doing primary school, no more. And then I thought, I like science, maybe I could do secondary. And that's when I applied to do get my QTS status, which just means qualified teacher status, with Hillingdon SCITT. SCITT just stands for School-Centered Initial Teacher Training. So as Jemima said, there's so many different routes to teacher train. There's, as she said, there's schools direct, there's the assessment only, there are university-based ones, so just your PGCE. You need to research what suits you because there's just so many options. The SCITT suited me. I enjoyed university because I got to learn. I didn't enjoy all the assessments, dissertation, it just wasn't for me. So SCITT was something that was more suited for me. And then I also chose to do a PGCE with Brunel at the same time, purely because I would like opportunities to teach abroad in the future. I thought that'd be quite cool. A lot of teachers are doing that now, and the PGCE allows me to do that. So in about 10 weeks, I will be a qualified teacher fully. And that's when I will move on to do my ECT years. That used to be called an NQT year, which is your newly qualified teacher year. It's now early careers teacher year, and instead of 1 year, it's 2 years. It's kind of like 2 years of just extra monitoring, making sure you're used to the teacher lifestyle because it is quite difficult, and you get extra support during those 2 years, which I think is quite useful because, as previously mentioned, teaching is hardcore. So my top tips, if you do want to be a teacher or apply, as I've said, research which kind of course is best for you. There are so many different ones. And ask people questions who have done the course, how they find it, like the pros and the cons, because there's just so much information out there. Be prepared to be very tired. You will spend hours planning, marking, doing uni assignments, getting evidence for your teacher standards. I remember the first month I was teaching, I think I got like 4 or 5 hours sleep every night because I was just I was stressed. I didn't know what I was doing. So it just took ages to get into the routine. My third one is definitely establish a good routine. Teachers have so much work that you could just work from like midnight to midnight every night. You need to set yourself boundaries from when you're going to work, when you're going to spend time with your family, have some self-care time. Self-care is a really good, important one actually. But just really make sure you have a good routine. And my fourth one is build a good rapport with your colleagues at your placements. The world of teaching is actually really small. Everyone knows everyone. So having that networking and good rapport will benefit you in the long run. Just for example, so I've got my ECT role prepared, and the head of science at that school used to work with the head of science at my school. So they've been talking about things that I've been doing. So if I had like a bad rapport with my head of science, it would not look good on me. That's with most jobs, but especially teaching. The world is so small. The hardest lessons I learned this year is probably that being a perfectionist in teaching just does not work. I'm a complete perfectionist, and I think a lot of scientists are. We like to put things in boxes. You cannot do that in teaching. Your to-do list will be endless, and you just have to learn to be okay with that. It took me a while, but you'll get there. During your training year and even your ECT years, you are constantly being judged. People are observing you, telling you how to improve constantly, and having negative critique all the time is really hard. It's something you get used to, but no one likes to be told they're doing something badly all the time. It's quite hard, like personally, but you have to just not take it personally because it's there for you to improve. I think as everything I've said, and Jemima, teaching is a lifestyle, not just a job. It's a real routine. It's kind of cyclic. Like we go every 6 weeks, then break, every 6 weeks, then break. So you've just got to be ready to full power for 6 weeks and then have a break. You kind of get used to it. I think I'm just getting into the rhythm because it's my first year. So hopefully next year will be easier. And the last one is something I think I've most recently learned is you will not teach the same as the best teacher in your school, and that's okay. Everyone teaches differently. You have your own teaching style and own it, because that's what's going to be your best lesson. If I try to teach like Jemima, or Jemima tries to teach like me, it's not going to work. Just, you have to be okay with that. And, oh, change. And finally, my advice, anyone who wants to be a teacher, first year teachers, you're not doing it wrong. It's just really that hard. I've been there, I've done it, and you can do it too. Any questions, I'm more than happy to answer. Just put them in the chat after. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rhea. Again, the honesty, I loved it. I think people who are trying to get into teaching need the honest truth, just so that they don't get that shock to the system.
Yeah, I agree.
Thank you. Thank you guys again. And we have our last speaker with us, which is Shaq, and he is a PhD researcher at Imperial College, and he will just be giving some insight again into the PhD, just how things are within a PhD and how he's found it as well. So over to you, Shaq.
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, allow me to extend my gratitude to the other speakers. All your talks were very engaging and very, very interesting. And I certainly learned a few things. So yeah, my name is Shaq, and today I am a PhD researcher at Imperial College. And today I'll tell you a little bit about my scientific journey so far. So like a lot of people who are interested in studying science, I knew I wanted to do science, but for me, the first step was to do a general kind of degree, such as biomedical science, to become a little bit more familiarized with different aspects of science. I have listed a few of the sort of topics that you learn in a biomedical science degree, but after even my second year, I still had no idea what I wanted to do, even though I knew I had a passion. I didn't know whether I wanted to get into research or sort of like pursue a career in the NHS, etc., etc. But as part of my PhD degree, I had the opportunity to basically do an intercalated year. So I went out of my way to do some research, and I found one that was suitable for me. And it was basically to do with reproduction. And that's not really something that I had studied or thought about at university. And when I started my intercalated year, it really shaped my scientific journey. So I was...
Sorry, Shaq.
Yeah.
We're having some issues hearing you properly.
Okay. Is it better now, or?
No, it's still the same. I don't know if it's just me. Or... Do you want to try? I don't know what.
Shall I try to continue? If yes, sure, we can definitely problem solve.
Yeah, let's try and continue, and then hopefully see what.
Okay, sure. So in my intercalated year, I basically worked at Coventry and Warwickshire Hospital as a trainee andrologist, which basically you can think of it as the male version of gynecology. So it's about male fertility. And when you enter the world of the NHS for the first time, you are going to learn some new techniques, and some of the techniques that you were working on at university, such as using a pipette or a microscope, you're going to master those things because you're doing it on a daily basis. Then being outside of academia as well, you also have additional responsibilities, such as doing the routine lab works, whether that would be cleaning or stock checks, or in my case, for example, we were filling nitrogen tanks with liquid nitrogen in tanks that had gametes and embryos in them. So I really enjoyed that. However, the best aspect of that year for me was the fact that I got to carry out a research project. So as part of that intercalated year, I think all the students were supposed to run some sort of research and give a presentation to the unit. But for me, I really wanted to take it a little bit further. So I actually called for a meeting for the heads in our unit. And I gave them a presentation. I told them I'm really passionate about this and I want to run this project. A few meetings and a few emails back and forth. They designated £2,000 for me to get the consumables I needed to do my research, which was about spent DNA fragmentation. And that really ignited something in me to pursue a scientific research career. So when I carried out this research project at the unit in the hospital, I really wanted that to be the basis of my BSc thesis as well. But at my university, there were a list of thesis titles that you would pick from. And they were pre-decided, and you would pick one from those, and students generally wouldn't come up with a title out of that list. But then the next challenge was to basically convince my supervisors at the university to let me use this research project as part of my, to basically base my thesis on. And I really enjoyed carrying out the work, designing it, and also writing it. And once I submitted that by an internal and an external examiner, my thesis was marked as 89%, which really gave me a lot of confidence, and I really enjoyed that. And when I finished my university degree, I went back to the same unit and worked there for about 4 years, which was, again, you learn a lot of skills, but I always knew that I wanted to get back into research. So whilst I was working at the hospital, I wanted to attend scientific conferences to learn what else is out there and how can I find my way back into research, basically. And in one of those conferences, I met Dr. Matt Tomlinson, who became my supervisor for my MRes degree. So it was a lot of that was about networking for me from the transition from my BSc to my MRes degree. And MRes stands for Master of Research, and you're basically an independent researcher, which actually provides a good flavor if you're interested in pursuing a PhD afterwards. And another opportunity I had was that I collaborated with a large pharma company who sponsored my research. They covered the university fees and provided a stipend for me as well. And also I got to go to their headquarters a few times and see what life is like outside of both the NHS and academia. Basically what I was working on, it was still in the field of fertility, so it was something I was passionate about and I wanted to pursue. So it was really good for me that it kind of ticks every box. So after enjoying that MRes degree, I looked at what PhD projects I can basically do, which brought me to London. And as a PhD student, you're totally independent. So there is a lot of room for creative thinking and problem solving. And you learn lots of new lab techniques compared to what you used to in the past. And also, for the first time, you're actually doing a proper multidisciplinary project. So it's not just about what you've learned in lectures. So you have to really go out of your way and learn yourself. So in my case, for example, my PhD spans various aspects of reproduction, microbiomics, metagenomics, and bioinformatics. And also, you get to collaborate with other groups, such as urologists, embryologists, and so on. So it's been a really nice journey so far, and I've really enjoyed doing it. Just to give you a little flavor of what I work on. So, for example, I put this plot together here to show you some of the basics that I work on for one of my cohorts. And in science, sometimes you ask a very basic question and you find big answers from it. So the question would be, what are the roles of bacteria play in IVF, in successful IVF treatments? So I would go to the clinics and I will collect a swab from patients undergoing IVF at different stages of their treatment. So it's done longitudinally. Then I would extract bacterial DNA, and then I will do next generation sequencing, which is kind of like PCR, but a lot more new and deeper sequencing. And then I would also do cytokine profiling to look at the immune response. And collectively, after having done a lot of analysis on microbial characterization and the cytokine profilings together, I want to know whether the bacteria that can sometimes be commensals that are friendly or the pathogenic ones that can be harmful, what are the impacts of these bacteria on the immune system and in successful pregnancy, well, successful fertilization and assisted implantation as well. So from just a very basic question of what do bacteria do, what's their impacts on IVF, there is a lot of things that you can do to get there. If you're applying for a PhD, I suggest that you make sure you choose a topic that you're interested in, because if you're working on something that you are not going to enjoy, then every day is going to be torture. And a suitable institution with recognized research facilities is very, very important. So universities are often quite stringent and very specific about the type of students they are going to take on. And so sometimes there's 15, 20 applicants for one position, and you're obviously have to be standing out from the pack to secure that position for yourself. But also, you have to make sure you find the most suitable institution as well. A supervisor that you click with and makes time for you and is passionate about research and moves the work forward is absolutely priceless. So definitely not only go and visit the institution and become familiarized with the facilities, but also be in touch with the supervisor and make sure you speak to them, your potential supervisor, and speak to them and see whether on a personal level, on a scientific level, in your outlook, whether you get on or not. Applying for fundings can be tough, but don't be put off if it gets hard. One thing that this is probably I basically had a lot of unforeseen circumstances, so I thought it would be interesting to mention it here. So sometimes you have to anticipate these unforeseen circumstances. So I had a supervisor change in my second year of my PhD, which, as you can imagine, makes the proceedings harder. The effects of Brexit were still felt in terms of the fundings, etc. COVID-19 obviously had a major impact, not only when it first hit the UK and all the clinical trials were put on pause, but also after everything went back to normal. We still have shortages of certain consumables, for example, PCR consumables or something as simple as pipette tips, and it's still some kind of hard to get hold of. So, but these are not things that are in your control, but you have to anticipate some changes that are beyond you, but they might occur. And yeah, just to sum everything up, it's really important to explore your opportunities. You have to take any opportunities that you can find. That could be through an intercalated year, which was something that was important for me and important in shaping my sort of scientific journey. Attending conferences, that's where I met my MRes supervisor, and so the whole concept of networking is absolutely incredibly powerful, and it will really help you excel. I would also recommend you to become members of relevant scientific organizations, again, when you receive their newsletters and when they have scientific days out or workshops, etc. Those are things that help you stand out from the pack. I, for example, am a member of 5 societies relevant to my work, and definitely pick a project that you actually care about, ideally with a suitable supervisor and institution. Thank you very much to Life Science Connexions for kindly inviting me to share my story, and thank you very much for everyone for listening to me. And I would be glad to answer any questions or have any discussions that you might want to have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shaq. That was a really good talk. I certainly learnt a lot. And thank you to all of the speakers for your talks today. So lots of information, and we, as I said, we also will be posting this online for people who are unable to view today, so that they can, also gain some insight about, the careers that we've spoken about here. We're ready to go into our question and answer session now. So I will just read out some of the questions that we've had from participants, and direct them at the appropriate speakers, and we will go from there. So let me just have a look. So we have a message from somebody who is saying that they're studying a biology heavy degree, like Biomedical Sciences, and they wanted to know whether or not they would still be able to teach chemistry. They said that there are sort of chemistry modules or concepts within their degree, but it isn't specific to chemistry. So Rhea, that might be better place for you to answer.
Yeah, so my degree was biochemistry, so a mixture of biology modules and chemistry modules. I did probably around 8 chemistry modules and the rest was biology. So what I did, was I firstly said that I really want to teach chemistry. I really enjoy chemistry, so kind of put your case forward. And second of all, there is something called a subject knowledge enhancement course, so SKE. If you just Google that, it'll come up. And some teaching providers will actually pay for you to do that, just to like make sure you have the correct knowledge to be able to teach it. Because as I said, like if chemistry is your specialism, you need to be able to teach that up to A level. So you do need to know your stuff. But yeah, you absolutely can teach chemistry if you want to with a biomedical degree, absolutely.
Thank you for clarifying on that, Rhea. That's great. Just a question actually for life sciences before I go into the other questions. Someone asking about which platforms we post on with respect to internships or entry-level roles, etc. So yes, LinkedIn. We also have an Instagram page and a Facebook page. You can also contact us via our website and via email. We will go over all of our sort of social media platforms at the end before you head off, but we are available on a range of platforms. Okay. So the next question is for Almudena and for Shaq. So the question is, what would be the one piece of advice you'd give someone who's interested in an academic role or a PhD? Obviously, you've both given, you know, a really sort of broad overview and a lot of detail on your journeys, but what would the sort of one or two take-home messages that you would say you'd give to someone who is interested? If we start with you, Almudena.
Yeah, I think as everyone, you know, here today, we have said that it's really important that you pick something that you really like. So yeah, pick a topic that you like and you're passionate with. It's fine if you pick something and then you realize you don't like. There's always, you know, change of career or change of topic, so don't feel bad about it. And also I could say that academic career is really, you have to be patient, because sometimes things don't get right quickly. So it's a matter of being persistent, being consistent, working bit by bit every day, a little bit more, until you get your PhD or until you get a lecturer position. But it's really, you know, it's a bit that is, it doesn't get paid off, you know, quickly, and it doesn't have these big rewards every week. So it has big rewards after, you know, after all the years, but it's fine as long as you're focused and you're patient and you keep on working bit by bit and you're resilient to failure. That's you will be fine. But you really need to be passionate about what you do, and you have to have a mission on your head. So for example, I do research because I want to improve patients' quality of life. Especially I was working with rare diseases, and that's really rewarding for me. So you have to have a mission. And now that I'm teaching, I see it also as Jemima and Rhea as a, you know, as a great opportunity to influence the new generations. So you really need to, you know, to like what you do, to like the daily tasks, and to have a mission, and then to be, you know, consistent and persistent and never give up, because this is life.
Thank you, Almudena. Yeah, actually, what you said about sort of passion and really loving what you do, it is just so important. And I know that, you know, not everyone ends up doing something that fits into those categories, but if you can, then it really does help, you know, and it will really help you along your way and make the difficult times enjoyable as well. Okay, Shaq, have you got anything to add on that point?
Yeah, I think Almudena covered it very well. I think basically, so what's one thing that I've experienced is that with my PhD, it's you have to sort of like have be a particular kind of person to sort of like come to terms with some of the things that are you might think they're difficult. So for example, for me, I realized that so the way my project is going, and obviously every project is different, but for me, I feel like throughout my PhD, every 6 months, I have a big win. But whereas if I had small wins every week, then that would sort of like give me a bit of a morale boost. So sometimes it gets tough without seeing your work come to fruition, whether you want to publish something or an experiment that finally works, and you've done the analysis and the supervisor is happy. So you might not have those sort of small morale boosts throughout the way, and but it might all come at an overwhelming joy after like every 6 months. So you've got to bear that in mind. I think, apart from that, it's sort of like, if it is something that you enjoy, it's easier to keep your focus on it and sort of like come to terms with some of the difficulties. So I think it's really important to make sure you pick a project that you think you're going to enjoy, like it's been already said as well. Things do happen. Sometimes you start something and you might not necessarily feel that it was the right thing for you. And, it's not the end of the world. Of course, once you get to a milestone, you can make changes as well. But making a decision with open mind, I think it's sort of very important to have done your research in terms of what you will be working on, and as well as the group that you will be joining. If you can talk to somebody in that group who's currently a student there, that's usually a good way of getting an idea of what the dynamics are like and how things work, basically.
Great, thank you for that, Shaq. I think, the thing for me, the biggest thing for me from what you said is really that determination and motivation that you need to sort of keep going. When, as you said, you're not getting the small wins constantly, but you're focused and you know why you're doing it. And I guess that also comes back to what Almudena was saying about, enjoying what you do and choosing the right project and, trying to focus on where you're going. So yes, thank you both for that. We have a question from somebody asking whether it's harder to apply for a PhD without a master's, or whether it's still possible to apply if you have, a first in your BSc.
I think probably Shaq, that has recently applied for PhD funding, will know more about this. But I have a feeling that there's still competition when you're applying for a PhD. And because when you've done a master's, you've done a research project, you're supposed to have learned different skills in the lab, for example. So you will be in a better position to secure a PhD position, just because MSc students will have more experience than a BSc student. I don't know if Zach will agree with me.
Absolutely. I think, like you say, if you have done an MSc, it just gives you that little bit of competitive edge that perhaps might sway a vote towards somebody who has done it. But I wouldn't say it's impossible to secure one with an undergraduate degree. Then again, it would also depend on the supervisor that you're working with as well. But certainly I wouldn't say it's impossible, but like you say, so it's the case of having that competitive edge, knowing a little bit more about the subject perhaps, and having done a little bit more lab work, having a little bit more experience. And those experiences really do come in handy in your applications.
I suppose that experience as well might help to sort of reconfirm that it is something that a particular person does want to go into. PhD is such a massive commitment. So actually having the opportunity to have a little bit more lab experience, a bit of an idea of what research is like, probably just is a positive from your point of view as well. Okay. We do have a few other questions. So there's somebody who's asking, this is for Rhea and for Jemima, whether the process of becoming a teacher is similar to the process of becoming a lecturer. So obviously we've heard from Almudena, and what she does is sort of distinctly different, but is there sort of a route through the pathway that you've both taken to go to sort of get to teaching, where you could sort of move into lecturing, or is it a completely separate entity?
I feel like it's completely separately. From what I understand, to be a lecturer, you do need a PhD. the head of chemistry actually at my school trained as a teacher, then went back to study and did her PhD. So she actually lectures as well as teach. But I think to lecture, you definitely need a PhD for that, because you're obviously doing university higher level stuff. So similar, but no, you definitely need an additional qualification, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I believe. But, yeah.
Yeah, you're right, Rhea. Yeah. Well, I can see similarities in our jobs, obviously, because it's teaching at the end of the day. So we do a lot of, we read a lot of on pedagogy and on the different ways of delivering content, on how to, keep students motivated, obviously at different levels, high school or, more mature students at university. But yeah, you will have to, even if you teach science, you will have to learn about pedagogy as well, and the way you teach, and the way your teaching will be effective, and how the students will get motivated, and how you can give feedbacks to students, which is very important for them to, to improve their knowledge and their assessments.
In terms of the skills as a teacher, I think for both lecturers and the teacher within, I would say secondary or primary school, is the pathway is similar, but you do need to enhance your skills furthermore in university in order for you to become a lecturer. But looking into as to how to engage the student, how to make sure that little bits here is picked up, for example, dealing with SEN students. These are the little things as a normal teacher and a lecturer, we will have to be having the same basic understanding of how to deliver that. But in terms of to be able to deal with university graduate students, yes, that's a different skill. So you do require definitely a further skills to do that. But a basic as a teacher, I think we both have the same similar pathway, if that's what they're looking out for.
I think as a high school teacher, it's more, we have similar skills, but we do have more pastoral care in our role compared to a lecturer. Like there's a lot of, because we're a form tutor, if there's an issue, we contact people, like it's more closed in, if that makes sense. Whereas at uni, you're on your own, you do your own thing really. So I think that's the main difference, I'd say. We
do a lot of pastoral care of students as well, which is very rewarding. And yeah.
I didn't know that actually. That's cool.
Yeah. Because with all the pandemic, so we, students' mental health hasn't been in a good situation lately. So yeah, we do a lot of tutoring of students, more kind of pastoral care. Yeah, because it's really important if the students are not, their mental health is impaired in some way, then they're not going to be successful in the studies. So you really want them to be successful. So you really want them to, and then sometimes because it's higher education, they get very stressed. Some of them, they are working part-time and doing the MSc part-time. So they really feel the stress of their studies, and sometimes they feel very down when they receive a mark and it's not on their scope of they could think of it. So yeah, they really need support and from different lecturers and pastoral care. So yeah, this is something really rewarding as well, when you can count down students and say, okay, this is fine, it's not the end of the world, you just got a 55 and it's great, you passed, don't worry about it. So yeah, sometimes they are very demanding with themselves, so just try to to calm them a bit, because they are perfectionists and very demanding. So yeah, we do pastoral care.
Yeah, just to even add, because I actually work alongside Almudena in a way, because I'm a personal tutor at UCL, and you're right, there's the pastoral care side of things. It's I didn't realize that lecturers and tutors would have to be part of or be involved in the pastoral side of things within university, but it does play a part in, especially if they don't have if they don't obtain the grades that they would like, or if they just feel low about just how much pressure it is to complete their MSc. Yeah, the tutors, lecturers, or they definitely play a part in that. So yeah.
Thank you. So yeah, I've definitely learned something there as well. I suppose the key is that whatever, whatever age or stage you're teaching at, is that support, that people need, whether it be a 5-year-old in primary school or whether it be, a 35-year-old, doing a PhD. We all need support, and I guess, a passion to teach is also a passion to help and to guide and to support. So, that does make complete sense. And I suppose one of the things that, I don't know, I always say is when you're considering a career, as well as trying to get sort of work experience and an idea of what to expect, is also think about your personality and how well that ties in with the things that you're going to be doing as part of that role. I do something completely different, but the few people I know who have stepped away from that role, I think if they'd have done that for start with, they probably would have gone into something different, and that's absolutely fine. But sometimes we just need to sort of self-analyze a bit. There's sometimes a pressure to sort of just jump in and know what you want to do and get on with it. But we really should sort of reflect on that side of things as well, I think. Okay. And we do have one more question as well, which is for Shaq. And it's just asking about your plans for after you complete your PhD, if you have any plans or if you have any thoughts on sort of what area you might want to go into.
Thank you very much. Yeah, certainly there have been a few opportunities that I've thought about. I haven't really made a concrete plan yet, but I feel that sort of certainly pursuing, in order to pursue an academic career, doing a postdoc is obviously the natural progression. And actually recently I was talking to one of my former managers in one of the clinics I used to work at, and she was telling me, if you wanted to even come out of academia and, get a managerial role at some point, it is actually probably going to be in your favor to do a postdoc for at least a year or two. So I think that's definitely a very good route to continue your academic pursuits. Even if you are planning to come out of academia, it kind of might feel like a bit of an unfinished job if you leave it at PhD. I think that the deeper you go into it, it kind of seems like you have to continue. But the other opportunities, of course, include working in clinical labs in the NHS, which I have had the experience of working in a couple of labs, both at the NHS and private clinics as well, which have their own challenges, have their own pros and cons. So again, I think Almudena was saying earlier that, you in an academic life, you have the freedom and you can manage your own time. So if you come in at 8 a.m. or 10 a.m., it doesn't really matter. As long as you get your work done, you actually end up doing a lot more than sort of 40 hours a week, which is the standard week. But there are things associated with it, the freedom and sort of like the sort of creative thinking and problem solving and managing your own time, which are amazing. I've certainly got used to those now. I've really enjoyed them. But in terms of, I think one thing that I think I touched on earlier, but I wanted to emphasize the importance of it again. I think networking is really important. The basics of everything. You and everybody else knows exactly what they need to do in terms of applications, in terms of doing research, all of this and that. But essentially what will separate you from the pack is networking. And when you go to conferences, you talk to a lot of people who are very high up in that field, and you can make connections. And certainly every conference I've been to has been extremely beneficial for me. I've met so many important people in my field. I've made so many great connections. And long after the conference, I've been in touch with them. Even I met somebody at a conference who offered me a postdoc position in the University of Toronto, which again is an excellent opportunity. And it is in sort of the field that I'm interested in. It would be about sort of the pre-implantation sort of phase of the IVF treatments, and a lot of molecular basis on that. No, and I have met CEOs that I have held meetings with them if I'm struggling with a protocol, because sometimes, again, a lot of this stuff you might need to optimize the protocol. You have to start from zero. Often in PhD projects, there's not a clear infrastructure in place. Sometimes you inherit a PhD project from somebody who has already done it and put all that infrastructure in place. But oftentimes you have to start from zero and optimize every protocol, and they won't work. They almost never really work. First or second time of asking, you really have to play around with it and talk to people. And what's better than already knowing people in the field who can help you? So in terms of finding new positions, even help along your current projects, networking is genuinely what I think separates you from the pack, and I really will emphasize the importance of it. So, you know, do every extracurricular activity that you can, and, you know, the kind of organizers of this meeting, for example, they're doing a fantastic job. You know, activities such as these are going to really be helpful. The seminars, webinars, and conferences, those are the things that genuinely will make a difference, I think, ultimately.
Yeah, I agree. When I did my first master's, the course lead was constantly sort of trying to explain to us the importance of networking. And I have to say, it's really not something I'm naturally sort of gravitate towards. It doesn't come naturally to me at all. But I cannot tell you how valuable it has been in my career. And in fact, the job that I have now, the position I'm in now, essentially I got through, you know, networking, through contacts, you know, and I've been here for almost 4 years now. You know, it really has the capacity to really enhance your career, and also just to provide support in ways that you may not need at the time, but you know, you don't know what's to come, and you also don't know how you may be able to support someone else in their role and their situation through that interaction. So I would say networking really is such a valuable tool, and also just sort of, you know, getting sometimes outside of your comfort zone is also really valuable as well. We actually do have one final question, sorry, before we finish, and this is someone asking whether you can apply for a PhD via UCAS, as if you're, you know, applying for a degree, or whether you apply directly with a university, you know, in a specific project.
Absolutely, I think they're both valid ways, really, and again, like I was saying, you know, sometimes when you are actually networking in a conference, sometimes you accidentally are talking to somebody who is a project leader, who is the lead investigator, and they might actually, you know, tell you that they have a PhD project that might not even necessarily be listed anywhere because it's at the earlier stages of development. So you've gone straight to the source. I think definitely try everything. And again, you will be surprised at how much you can achieve in conferences when you go to them.
Thank you, Shaq. That's great. As I said, I think that we have answered all of the questions. So thank you to all of the speakers for such sort of thorough, detailed and honest talks. You know, I certainly really appreciate it, and I'm sure that everyone who's been listening does as well. As I said, we will be posting the sort of recording so that we can share this knowledge with as many people as possible. Thanks very much, and we will pass over to Tolu, who will be able to do our just sort of our exiting from the event.
Thank you very much, everyone. Yeah, no, it's been a very good session. It's been really good to hear from our speakers. Yeah, thank you so much to Jemima, Rhea, Shaq, and Almudena. We are very grateful for your time. You know, it's a Friday night, you could be doing anything else, but it's really good to see that people are willing and yeah, that people are willing to take time out to help other people. Just want to quickly go through also, you know, just our social medias. I think the screen's been shared, if I can quickly see. Yeah, okay. Yep, thank you so much. We're going to quickly go through our excellent, thank you. Yeah, so yeah, thank you very much as well to everyone who's attended. You know, again, you've taken time out to you know, honor these speakers, but also move further in your careers as well. If you would like to keep in touch with us, please do follow us. We are on Facebook, Instagram, we are on LinkedIn, we are on Twitter, and we also have an email address. It's all on our screen here. You know, LinkedIn is a place where we do operate quite frequently, as well as Instagram and Facebook. But with our LinkedIn, you can you can keep in touch with us. We speak to people through the direct messages. We post entry-level jobs. We post our events as well, like this. We also do that on our website as well. As it was mentioned before, our blogs, information about roles, they're posted on our website and on LinkedIn. So it'd be really good if you could give us a follow, interact with us. And yeah, that's where you can keep up to date with what we're doing as a life science connection body. So yeah, thank you very much all. And then we're closing our session. So thank you all. Thank you for our speakers. Feel free to have a look at the chat. There's quite a few links in there that the speakers have put in, and email addresses. If I were you, I'd take it all down. So I'll leave that up a bit as if you guys want to take note of that. But I'll be stopping the recording and ending the session right now. So thank you, everyone. Have a good evening. Have a good weekend.
Thank you so much for having me.